Welcome to my new segment called MorphMarket Now. Now, I am going to post this on YouTube and in my Patreon for this first version of this video. Moving forward, it's going to be a Patreon exclusive. So if you haven't checked out my Patreon yet, please do so. As you can see, it's right here on the page, patreon.com/snake limited. It's free to join if you just want to get quick updates about clutches and sales. But for paid members, you will get access to awesome content like what you're going to see here today. So with this segment, I want to go through Morph Market um, and look at all of the newest listings. Unfortunately, I already recorded this video one time for 40 minutes. I ended the video and then I realized that for some reason my microphone wasn't turned on and there was no audio. So I'm going to go back through and do this again. It's not going to be a 40-minute one this time because I am tired of talking. But I want to go through Morph Market, look at all the first 10, 15 pages of snakes, point out what looks really cool, what has a really good price, what might be a little too expensive. I'm not going to be hypercritical of snakes on here in this first video because it's going to be public. But moving forward, when they're Patreon exclusives, I want to be able to talk to you guys about which of these snakes is actually good investment and which of them are a bad investment. As you can see here, there are currently 43,763 snakes on Morph Market. That's a lot. So let's dive in and see what we can kind of see here to see what might be a good buy for some of you guys and what's a little too pricey. The first thing that pops out to me here is these two VPI Xanthic het pieds. Now the VPI Xanthics don't bring in as much money as the MJ pieds do, which are the lightning pieds. But for a pair of snakes here, 950, you get a male and a female. That's probably not a bad deal. Especially because you can make VPI Xanthic pieds with it. Um, let's see what else here. Blackhead pets. This for a snake, it's a pretty snake, but for a snake that doesn't have any recessives, might be a higher price tag, especially because most of those genes are pretty basic at this point. Stranger chocolate possible head cloud, possible head beret. The snake could be extremely powerful, but I don't know if I'd spend 10 grand on a snake that is double pos het, even if it has moray in there. That's a lot, I feel like. Let's see. A bunch of, you know, there are so many snakes on here that a lot of what you're going to see is going to be, a lot of the snakes are going to be very similar. So I'm going to try to point out the snakes that are a little nicer looking. And this is the first one that kind of caught my eye. Fire red stripe yellow belly clown. 1200 male. I guess the price is probably okay. The snake is gorgeous. Obviously, if you're looking at making Pompeiis, this has a lot of the genetics you need in it. Um, the male having the fire. The only thing you have to worry about with that, with the fire and the yellow belly, is that you have to make sure that none of the females really have fire or yellow belly, or else you could be getting white snakes. So I'd almost rather be buying a male that has red stripe, um, cypress, some other genes in there, and then black pastel, and then making sure the fire and the yellow belly are in the females. But it's a beautiful snake, and I really probably don't have much issue with the price on it either. Um, See, so this Randy Bush Reptiles here has a bunch of these Xanthic pieds. So if he's selling a double visual with leopard for grand and the visual het for 4, I don't know. It's hard with those projects. Honestly, I'm an MJ Xanthic guy. So I would tell you go invest in MJ if you can, rather than getting into the other Xanthic lines. This is a neat snake, but again, there's no That's a lot for a snake that, I mean, like this would need to be het clown, and then I'd think about it because it has cypress and red stripe, which are two of the um, more sought after and harder to come by genes and clowns at this point. And for this snake, it's just a bunch of incomplete dominance genes at this point. It's a lot. That's a lot. It's a big price tag for that snake if it's not a het clown. Very cool looking. Um, but ish. Pastel pinstripe desert. Here we go into people, I think, pricing DG pies or DG clowns more accurately. Some people still have them priced up over 10 grand, and they are not worth that at this point. Um, in my Patreon, I have posts saying what I've paid for snakes and what I've sold snakes for. And I had purchased several snakes from Chimera back in May, four of them actually, and they were all double visual DG clowns females, and they were all like 400 or 500 grams, and they all had at least pastel or pastel enchi in them. He had them listed at 6,300, and I didn't pay that for them. I paid under that. So, and those were DG clown females. So this is over that price tag. I would not pay this for this snake. It is absolutely stunning. I love it. It really makes me want to try to get pastel and pinstripe in my DG Pied stuff. This is a crazy looking, beautiful snake. So it's awesome looking. If the price was a little lower, I would tell you, go invest in it. But it's also male. So if I paid under this price for female DG clowns, then I would not be paying this price for this male. But maybe drops it 2 grand or so. Then I'd say you're in the market for getting a real cool male there. Let's see. I think I came across this one, and the last time I recorded this video, um, that's a lot for just a leopard clown. I mean, they're so easy to make at this point, and it's a baby too. If that was an adult female, I'd be like, buy it. But that's kind of a high price tag. And then I think I commented on this one too. So black pastel, Wookiee clown, obviously pastel as well. Powerful animal for the clown project. I like that it's all in the male. I don't know if I would personally pay 2,400 for this snake. If it was under 2 grand, I'd be thinking about it more. Um, but very powerful. Uh, I've produced several of snakes that look like these. They keep colors very. And this one is an adult. It looks like they keep their colors very well. They have these really cool head stamps. The only issue is that fire's in it, and that's what helps make this head stamp and the colors. But it also makes it very high white. Um, Pretty snake though. The price is probably on point with what adult females with those genes are selling at this point. Very cool snake though. Hurricane. I understand that hurricane's still a harder to come by gene at this point, but this is a lot, in my opinion, for a snake that has one codominant. Because what's going to happen is you're going to buy this snake, and by the time you're able to breed this snake, people have already had hurricanes in their collection and they're breeding. If they have a male hurricane and it has 4 clutches, and let's say it's 24 eggs, and half of them come out with hurricane, that person's going to have 12 snakes that have hurricane in it, and they're going to be selling it. And there's a bunch of people doing that. So you're paying 3 grand or 2 grand for this snake now, and by the time you breed this female in 2 years and get a clutch in 3 years, the prices on hurricane are going to be so freaking low that you're going to lose all your money on it. So I wouldn't, for a one gene snake, I would not invest heavily, um, unless it's a something like monsoon, where it's a gene that nobody still has. I think I saw this one too, and this is the double het. This is the possible quad het, and it's an adult looking female. Um, and well, it should be an adult, and this was my issue with it, is that the weight hasn't. I'm assuming the weight hasn't been updated since it was first listed in January of 2022. This could be an adult. It might not be an adult. So you'd have to ask that question. This is where I tell everybody on my Patreon, as I'm talking about listing stuff, you need to update your listings. You need to put updated photos. You need to update the weights if it's been sitting for a while. And you need to update pricing as well, because if you have a snake that's been sitting there for 6 months and hasn't sold, it's priced too high. And this one specifically, if this was me, I may even do the testing on this, and I would test for the het pied and the het clown, because if it's a quad het, that's a very powerful snake, and it'd probably be an easier sell. But people, and I don't understand why people are breeding spiders still at this point, um, because there's the whole wobble thing, and it's just people aren't really looking to buy that gene anymore. So I would not be producing it if I were you. It's just a little tip in my opinion. It's just not a good business strategy at this point. But this snake, I wouldn't be paying $3 grand, especially because it has spider. But for the um, you don't know what it is. If it's just DGVPI, um, it's not worth this price tag. But if it's a quad het, hell yeah, you want it. I don't because it has spider. But if it's a quad het, it's a decent price. And now that I'm looking at this again for the second time today, this is the same seller that has this snake that I have the other issue with. Again, you need to update your listings. This is a pastel DG pied. It's a double visual. And as we saw earlier in that other snake, that pastel pinstripe DG pied male for 6,500, this one's listed in 9,500. It hasn't been updated again since it was listed. It's listed at 70 grams still. And it's also a picky eater. Do not buy a snake with a listing that has really this many warning flags. To me, this price hasn't been updated in probably a year and a half, 2 years. The weight has never been updated. This whole thing about ASFs hasn't been updated. This snake's almost 2 years old. It will be, by the time I'm recording this, it's 17 days from being 2 years old. This thing should be breeding size at this point. If it's still under 1,000 grams, you don't want to pay this price anyways. So this is going to be one of those things where I don't know this seller and I don't want to talk too much crap, but it's a 2 year old listing, dude. Like you need to update this shit. You can't just let it sit there for this long. I mean, this is a snake that should have been sold last year during the boom when things were expensive. But if you're not paying attention to your listings, and you're not updating your listings, you're losing out on free money basically. So update your listings, guys. Everybody, not just this guy, but everybody. You have to update your listings. You can't just let them sit there. Um, cool snake. This shows you how much clown pied has come down in price um, since last year. I mean, this snake probably would have been $5 grand last year. Right now, it is $1,000. So I love the project. It just kind of sucks that prices came down this much on them. But very cool snake. Let's see. These snakes look really cool. I actually had one at one point. I just never bred it. It's going to be a hard sell though because you know there's no recessives. Again, I highly advise all of you that if you're buying snakes, that it has to have something recessive in it, even if it's only a het. Like this one's hypo het clown. You need to have some sort of recessives in there because there's not a whole lot of money at this point in just breeding snakes that are only incomplete dominant genes. I mean, look, this snake here, it's a double het VPI clown, and it's only 350. So, if you only have a small pocketbook, buy a snake like that. Um, these look really nice as adults. I think these prices, I have seen them kind of stick around this price, and I actually have mine listed for around this price, and I actually have them I have two of mine right here, actually. Um, I have similar snakes like this that are listed, I think, at half off right now, just as a shameless plug. So if you're in the market for a snake like this, take a look at my listings because I have quite a few of these guys available. But I also have two here. Hey, again, shameless plug. They're both males, double het 100% double het clown pies. One's blade, one's spot nose, both half off. You can see the prices there. Um, triple het clown flipper, triple het clown pie hypo. This, if it had another gene or two in it, I'd say it was a fantastic buy. But with it just being leopard and only a triple het, if you produce leopard pies out of this and they're, posset clown hypo, they're not going to really look nice. Leopard pies don't really look like a whole lot of anything. Um, if you produced leopard clowns out of this that were posset pied and hypo, they'd be easier sells. But there's a lot of ifs with, reproducing the snake. So, you have to know what the genes do when you're buying these snakes. If this was, ODYB or, something else where, if you only got a pied out of it, it would still look awesome. It'd be an easier sell when you're, with the things you aren't holding back. Leopard deep. This thing, I would absolutely shed test this for clown. If it's a double het, I mean that's an easy buy for anybody. It's a good price. It's a 2-year-old female. If it's a double het ultramale clown, yeah, buy it. Absolutely. Let's see. I'm gonna try to cut this off here in a couple minutes, so it's not too long, so you guys can just get a good taste of what um kind of what I'm looking to do. Oh, I saw this one last time. This is a beautiful snake. Beautiful snake. It only has 2 genes in with the clown, but what Blackhead and Enchi do together in a clown is just outstanding. I personally would not pay $3,000 for this snake. If it was an adult, I'd think about it, but you can still get more bang for your buck for $3,000. Um, but damn, it's a pretty snake. This really makes me want to look into making sure that I have Blackhead and Enchi in my clown project. Um, nice, very nice snake. Let's see. Anything else cool on here? Let's see. Um, let me go back here. I saw this group deal last time. I would be, group deals seem good. What you'd have to do with something like this is break down what each one of these snakes is worth, and also, take mind of what their weights are. Um, sometimes, and I don't like that it's basically a new seller, and I don't like that they're only taking cash as payment. That raises red flags for me. If you're gonna go to Canova or Aussie or Mutation Creation or me or somebody else my size that has 160 plus ratings on MorphMarket and they ask you for cash, um, it's pretty safe to say that you're, in good hands. But when it's somebody who has no track record or very small track record, I won't even pay cash to those people. So that raises a red flag for me to begin with. But sometimes getting a group of 5 females for what might be an okay price, I don't know, I can't break it down right here without, doing more research. But you have to see if those, I mean, you could be getting some snakes that are smaller, some snakes that aren't, feeding very well, some snakes that just laid that won't be ready to breed for another year and a half if you're lucky. So you could just be getting somebody's scraps that they're trying to sell off. Um, you have to be kind of weary of that when you're spending that sort of money. Let's see. Bunch of these guys, you can't. I don't even know how you're selling these for $100 at this point. It's a single gene animal, yellow belly. I mean, what's more common other than pastel than a yellow belly? These would be things that I'd be kind of almost giving away at this point. You shouldn't be spending $100 on a yellow belly. They're too easy to come by. This snake I saw last time. Holy crap! This is a beautiful snake. Um, I if he's selling this snake, and I've actually purchased from Jason before too. Um, if he's selling this snake, I would love to see what the rest of this clutch looks like. Um, but I don't know if I'd be paying 6 grand for it because it's a single recessive. Um, it's got a lot of genetics in it, but a lot of these genes are common in clown. The only one that really isn't is red stripe. Everything else is very common in clown, so it's not very hard to reproduce, in my opinion. I mean, you could have OD in both parents. You could have Enchi in both parents. You could have an ivory clown, that's shooting out yellow belly to all the babies. So, it's a lot of genetics, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's worth the price tag. It's a pretty snake, and I would hope it keeps its colors well. But I personally wouldn't spend that much on that snake. Like, again, I bought pastel Enchi double visual DG clown females that were 2022s for less than that. So you have to keep in perspective, what you're actually getting for your money. In my Patreon, I do posts usually weekly called "Buy This Not That," where I take two snakes that are the same price and tell you why I would buy this snake and why I would not buy this snake and compare. Like, this is what if you have $1,000 to spend, if you have $2,000 to spend, where should you spend it? And this is the good spot to spend it, and this is not the good spot to spend it. Um, this has a ton of genetics in it. You'll probably get your return, breeding that snake in a few years, but that's a 2023 snake. It's probably not going to have its eggs, even if it lays, if it gets paired up in 2 years, you're probably still not going to have eggs till 2026 out of this snake with it being a female. So you need to keep things like that in mind. This isn't a bad deal. Pied double het, Xanthic clown, VPI as well, male. The problem with this is you need to have females to go along with it. If you're just breeding this and you don't have, you'd probably want to breed it to an Xanthic clown or a clown or an Xanthic so that you're guaranteed everything's het pied and you can test for, het clown or het Xanthic. Um, it's a triple visual, but I'd like it, you'd have to have females to go along with it, which is kind of the caveat with that, but it's probably not a bad price. Let's see. Oh, I called this one out a little bit. They say it'd be hard pressed to find another animal matching the genetics and coloration of the snake, which is complete bullshit. This snake is basically it looks like a silver bullet. It looks like a super cinnamon pastel, and those basically don't cost anything at this point. So this is one of those instances where $2,000 is a lot for a snake that it's G stripe, but it's not one of the high end recessive traits. Um, and there's really not a whole lot else in there. So that's one of those instances where, like, if you like what it looks like, know what you're looking at because you could buy a silver bullet for probably under $500 and get something that looks basically identical to that for a quarter of their price. This is another one here, like this. Albino's like I hate to say dead, but it's like it's dead. I mean, there's too many other recessives that people are working with. And Ultramel and Monarch and Lavender all do something kind of similar to what Albino does, and they all do it better. This is a lot of money for this snake. I would not be investing in Albino. And if you have $2,500, there's a lot better places. Let me see if I can find something on this page. I'll do you a free buy this not that in this segment. Man, this one even a pastel clown, 100% desert ghost female. It's a year old. She's 1750. This would be a better buy at 1750 than this snake because you're getting into the DG clown project and you're saving 750. You could probably go buy a double het DG clown male or a clown het DG male for 750. You could buy a pair of snakes that can make you DG clowns for the same price that you'd be buying an albino clown female for. So, do your research, join my Patreon so that you're making the right investing decisions. Um, Firefly Pied Het DG. I don't know if that's a decent price or not. The problem with fire in your pieds is that it makes a high white snake. And if you're getting into the DG pied project, it doesn't do you a whole lot of good if you're making high white snakes. So having fire in there kind of kills that as a investment, as a purchase. I'm gonna try to end it here on this last snake. Let me find it because it was kind of a cool snake to end on. Let's see, it's from Canova. Hopefully I don't pass it up. I feel like I saw these ones. This is how far I went down on the first video, and I spent a lot more time talking, and I ended it, and I realized that I didn't have the microphone running. We're almost there, because I remember seeing some of these snakes. Here we go. All right, so let's talk about this project. This snake, it's powerful. It's a black xanthic, which is not a lot going around of. It's basically the same thing as xanthic. It just kind of makes it a little darker. Um, and it's het hypo, het pied. And if you haven't seen it, check out my Instagram. I bought the adult male from Justin last year. It was a leopard blackhead Mojave, triple het black xanthic hypopied. So I had a hypopied female I bred him to, and I have a few black xanthic females that I bred him to. The leopard blackhead Mojave hypopied posset black xanthics that I hatched are insane looking. They have like purple heads. They're unfortunately high white. Um, but the coloration is amazing. And the two females that I produced were leopard blackhead Mojave pied, um, and they look really cool too because they're like black, like they have like jet black heads. So check out those snakes down on my Instagram feed, and I even probably have videos on YouTube about it as well. But I'm hoping that this snake sells for around this price because if I'm producing my clutch with the black xanthic females due to hatch any day now, so I have the ability to produce leopard blackhead Mojave black xanthics that are poshet hypopied, which I'm obviously going to test for. Um, and some of them might be available depending on what the odds are. I mean, if I don't hit hypopides on very many of them or any of them, I will probably be releasing some of them. But very awesome project that I'm excited to kind of get going here myself. But powerful snake. It looks really cool. They age very well. At $3 grand might be. I'm trying to think. Full transparency here, and again, that's actually some of what I do in my Patreon. Is I think I bought the dad for $4 grand or 4,500 last year, and he was again leopard blackhead Mojave triple het black xanthic hypopied. So this guy is visual black xanthic, but he only has one gene in him. He's just leopard. He doesn't have blackhead Mojave. Price might be a little higher than what I'd feel comfortable paying for it, but it's a very, very cool project. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it, just mixing it into hypos or pies or whatever. So, very cool. Just about 30 minutes here, so I'm going to end it. I hope you guys enjoy this content. Once again, this first one will be free on YouTube and free in Patreon. But the next time we do one of these, it's going to be live. I'm going to have interactions with my Patreon members. This is going to be for paid Patreon members only. And we can have a discussion about all these snakes we talk about. What's the good, what's the bad, what's a good investment, what's too expensive. So I hope it's helpful to you guys just looking at this first time on YouTube. Please comment down below, let me know what you think, and please hit up my Patreon to get more awesome content like this.